The alien survey cruiser Veil Terran drifted at the fringe of mapped space, its hull lights dimmed as if brightness itself might provoke whatever lay beyond. Commander KRYX Taller stood with his hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the projection hovering above the command dais. The image refused to resolve into anything familiar. It was a vessel, unmistakably so, yet its proportions were wrong. Too dense, too angular, like a blunt instrument carved into the shape of a ship. "Confirm the classification," KRYX said, his voice steady despite the tightening in his chest. Sensor Officer Rel Vantos flicked his mandibles in unease. "Multiple passes completed, Commander. Planetary origin confirmed. Environmental correlation. Class-15 Deathworld." The bridge fell silent. Class-15 worlds were theoretical constructs, used in xenobiology lectures as cautionary extremes. Gravity that crushed organs. Atmospheres that corroded lungs. Ecosystems built on violence so constant it defied long-term evolution. No sapient species was supposed to come from such a place, let alone reach the stars. KRYX studied the vessel again. Its hull bore scars, deep, overlapping gouges that spoke of close-range impacts rather than micrometeor drift. There were burn marks along the spine, asymmetrical and crude, as if patched mid-conflict. This was not a relic. It was a survivor. "Life signs?" KRYX asked. Rel hesitated. "Inconsistent. Internal power is minimal but stable. I am detecting movement, localized, intermittent." Navigation Officer Sun Mar shifted uneasily. "A derelict shouldn't move." "No," KRYX agreed. "It shouldn't." The vessel's designation pulsed into view as the translation matrix completed its work. The symbols were stark, stripped of ornamentation, and carried a meaning that made no sense in any known linguistic family. "Vanguard class." KRYX felt a flicker of irritation. Vanguard of what? There was no fleet present, no civilization signature nearby. Whatever had built this ship had sent it alone into the dark. "Commander," Rel said quietly, "internal gravity readings are extreme. Nearly 3 times Alliance standard." Sun let out a sharp breath. That would liquefy most known species. "Yet the ship is intact," KRYX said, "which suggests its builders were as well." He straightened, professional instinct overriding discomfort. "Prepare a controlled boarding. Minimal team. Full combat readiness." Sun turned to him sharply. "With respect, Commander, this may be a containment scenario. A Class-15 origin does not automatically imply hostility," KRYX interrupted. "And if there are survivors, we assess and extract. That is our mandate." What he did not say was that curiosity burned hotter than caution. The galaxy was vast but predictable. This ship was neither. The boarding craft detached in silence, carrying KRYX and 3 others through the void. As they approached, the vessel's scale became apparent. It was smaller than an Alliance cruiser, yet its mass readings rivaled one. Dense alloys layered upon each other, designed to endure punishment rather than evade it. The airlock responded to their signal after a pause that stretched too long to be mechanical delay. The door irised open with a heavy, grinding sound, as if protesting the act. The moment KRYX stepped inside, the weight hit him. His boots slammed against the deck harder than expected, joints protesting as gravity asserted itself. The air was breathable but sharp, carrying a metallic tang and the faint scent of burned polymers. The corridor ahead was narrow, the ceiling low enough that KRYX had to tilt his head slightly to pass beneath it. "This ship was not built for us," Sin muttered over the comm. "No," KRYX said, steadying himself. "It was built for something stronger." The lights flickered as they advanced, revealing walls scored by impact marks and hastily welded seams. Every surface spoke of use. Hard, relentless use. There was no aesthetic symmetry, no decorative flourish. Everything existed for function, for survival. Rel paused near a bulkhead panel, running a scanner across it. "Commander, these repairs were performed manually, during active system failure." KRYX looked at the panel. The welds were uneven, imperfect, yet solid. Whoever had done this had worked under pressure with limited tools and had succeeded anyway. A low thrum reverberated through the deck, like the distant heartbeat of a massive creature. Power routed somewhere deeper within the ship. Movement, Sun whispered. Ahead. KRYX raised a hand, signaling silence. The corridor stretched forward into shadow, the gravity pressing down like an unspoken challenge. Somewhere within that darkness, something had endured a world that killed by default, and had carried that endurance into the void. For the first time since leaving Alliance space, KRYX felt the subtle shift from command certainty to instinctive caution. This was no abandoned relic. It was a testament. And whatever had built it might still be watching. The lights ahead cut out entirely, plunging the corridor into darkness. The ship did not power down. It held its breath. KRYX tightened his grip on his weapon and took a careful step forward, knowing with sudden clarity that they were no longer explorers. They were intruders. The darkness pressed against the boarding party like a living thing. KRYX's boots left deep impressions in the narrow corridor as he advanced, weapon raised, sensors scanning for movement that might betray life. The low gravity inside the vessel, far higher than any Class-15 simulation predicted, pulled at their muscles, demanding every ounce of control. Rel Vantos swore softly under his breath, mandibles clicking, while Sun Mar's eyes darted to every shadow. This layout is unusual, Rel murmured, voice almost lost beneath the hum of failing power conduits. Manual systems everywhere. No AI intervention. No automated defense grids. KRYX ignored the observation, focusing on the pressure in the air. The ship felt alive, breathing in measured, heavy pulses. The corridors narrowed further, walls lined with scuffs and dents. Panels were haphazardly reinforced, some with metal strips scorched at the edges as if welded under duress. KRYX traced the marks with his eyes, noting the pattern. Whoever had survived here had not only endured catastrophe, they had thrived through it. Sun paused at a junction. Gravity spike, he said. It's concentrated ahead. Could be a chamber. Or a trap. KRYX nodded. Maintain formation. Stay alert. His tone was calm, though a tight knot formed in his chest. The unknown had never felt so tangible. They reached a wider section, a makeshift atrium that seemed to serve as both workspace and living area. Tables and consoles were scattered, some broken, others partially operational. A faint vibration ran through the floor, synchronized with the low hum of unseen engines. Rel scanned the area. Presence detected. Not mechanical, he reported. Small signature. Weak, but intentional. KRYX signaled the others to halt. We are not alone. A shadow moved across the far wall. Something fast, purposeful, and aware. The alien team tensed, weapons lifting in unison, but the figure vanished before a shot could be fired. This ship, it was designed for endurance, not comfort, KRYX said quietly. Whoever built it expected constant struggle. Sen's display flickered as he pulled data from the ship's internal sensors. Multiple human biosigns detected. Multiple individuals. They're mobile. They're avoiding detection, intentionally. Rel's mandibles clicked nervously. They are hunting us. Or testing us. A metallic clang echoed somewhere deeper, distant but deliberate. The sound was accompanied by a hiss of pressurized air, then silence. KRYX's instinct screamed. Whoever moved within these walls was not fragile. They had survived conditions that would have shattered even the most resilient alien physiology. He gestured to split the team. Rel and Sun moved to flank the corridor while KRYX advanced straight ahead. Each step was calculated, deliberate. Each shadow could conceal a predator capable of overpowering them in an instant. At a junction, they found a door partially sealed. The hull around it bore deep gouges and makeshift welds. KRYX crouched, inspecting the structure. This was forced closed, he said. Someone or something is trying to compartmentalize sections. The low hum shifted, intensifying in rhythm. KRYX's weapon sensors picked up a subtle energy signature moving ahead, almost synchronized with the hum. He raised a clawed hand to signal the others. Prepare for contact. Suddenly, the door shuddered inward. A narrow figure darted from the shadows, only partially visible, a human male, wiry, muscled, moving with an efficiency that spoke of constant training. He carried no weapon that KRYX could immediately identify, yet the precision of his movements suggested lethal intent. Rel fired a warning shot, the plasma beam narrowly missing the figure as it vanished behind a bulkhead. KRYX pressed forward, sensing a rhythm in the movement. The humans were leading them somewhere, controlling the engagement. The ship itself is their ally, Sin muttered. Every structural anomaly favors their tactics. Every corridor, every bulkhead, they know it intimately. KRYX's mind raced. The aliens had assumed advanced technology and overwhelming firepower would secure dominance. Here, the rules were inverted. Physical endurance, environmental adaptation, and psychological control were the weapons. Another metallic clang rang out, this time closer. KRYX's heart rate accelerated, not from fear but from recognition. These were not blind ambushes, they were tests, calibrations, challenges. Whoever designed this defense system understood not just survival, but superiority in adversity. Maintain your focus, KRYX instructed, though his voice was tighter than usual. They are observing us, learning us. They are assessing our weaknesses. They reached a larger chamber, walls lined with consoles and devices that still pulsed faintly. Rel scanned rapidly. This is a control hub, partially functional. Someone is operating it manually. The signals are irregular, adaptive, reacting to our presence. KRYX stepped inside carefully, noting the strategic layout. Narrow spaces, high gravity zones, and uneven footing created natural choke points. Every detail screamed deliberate design, honed for survival and tactical advantage. Then movement, a flash in the corner of his vision. KRYX spun, weapon raised, but nothing was there. Only the residual echo of energy as if the ship itself had displaced the intruder. Sen's voice was tense. They're not fighting blindly. They're controlling engagement. We're being funneled, monitored. KRYX pressed forward, sensing the subtle shift in atmosphere, a heartbeat of anticipation. Somewhere in the shadows, human intellect and endurance were waiting. Every environmental anomaly, every structural irregularity was a testament to a species shaped by extremity. Rel's display blared a warning. Localized gravity spike. They were approaching a compartment where the humans had concentrated defenses. KRYX glanced at his team. Sweat beaded along their foreheads, exoskeletons strained against the pressure, muscles quivering under the dense gravity. The first door they reached was reinforced, deep gouges in the metal indicating repeated force. KRYX's hand rested on the release mechanism. He could sense the anticipation, a deliberate pause as if whatever awaited beyond the door was aware they had arrived. He nodded to his team. Open slowly. Stay tight. Be prepared for anything. The door creaked, then slid aside. Silence. Heavy, thick, calculated silence. The chamber beyond was dim, only occasional emergency lights flickering. The floor was scarred and dented, signs of repeated conflict. And then, a single metallic click echoed, a sound deliberate, careful, and confident. Someone was in the shadows, waiting, watching, aware of every movement the aliens made. KRYX felt it deep in his chest. They were not alone, and they were not in control. The boarding team had entered a world shaped not for diplomacy, not for conquest, but for survival at its most brutal. And whoever had built it, whoever had endured it, would not be intimidated. For the first time, KRYX understood the truth. These were not merely humans. They were predators forged in the crucible of a death world. And the hunt had only just begun. The chamber was quiet, but the quiet carried weight, like the pause before a storm struck. KRYX's team advanced cautiously, weapons trained on every shadow. The emergency lights flickered, casting long, angular shadows across the walls. Then movement, sharp, precise, and deliberate. A figure stepped from the shadows, a human male, lean but undeniably strong, carrying himself with an awareness honed by constant survival. His eyes were calm, assessing, yet there was a fire in them that spoke of endurance beyond measure. "I suggest you lower your weapons," the man said, voice clear, even, carrying authority without arrogance. KRYX froze, scanning the figure. The physiology was unmistakable, human. Muscles compact, hands capable of brute strength, yet dexterous. The human moved with a controlled grace, aware of every gravitational nuance, every environmental variable. The alien sensors recorded nothing extraordinary, but instinct screamed that this was no ordinary creature. "Identify yourself," KRYX demanded, trying to maintain command. The human tilted his head slightly, a faint smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "Captain Rourke, this vessel is ours. You are intruding." Rel Vantos clicked his mandibles in unease. "Class 15 origin, these humans should not be capable of this. Your species, how?" Captain Rourke's eyes flicked to him. Sharp, calculating. "Class 15 didn't break us. It shaped us. Every environment we survived, every trial we endured, it made us what you see now. Stronger, faster, more enduring. You should not underestimate us." Sunmar whispered, almost to himself, "They fight like predators." KRYX adjusted his stance. "Your vessel, your rules. We seek assessment and peaceful contact. Hostility is unnecessary." Rourke's gaze swept over them, calm yet unyielding. "Peaceful contact." He laughed softly, a sound without mirth. "You are here in our home. You are already hostiles in our eyes. But we do not seek conquest, we seek survival." The corridor behind Rourke gave a glimpse into the rest of the vessel, narrow hallways, reinforced doors, and signs of improvisation. Welds scarred with haste, dented bulkheads, and worn floors told of repeated conflicts. Yet the humans had endured, thrived, and retained control. KRYX's sensors flickered as they picked up subtle energy discharges, not weapons, but the ship itself responding, subtle environmental manipulations, gravity variations, temperature shifts, lighting changes. The humans were using the vessel as an extension of themselves. Every wall, every corridor, every shadow was a weapon, a shield, a tactic. "You control this ship like a weapon," KRYX observed, cautious admiration in his tone. Rourke nodded slightly. "It's not just a vessel. It's our environment. Adaptation is survival. You cannot dominate what you do not understand." Rel Vantos' mandibles clicked nervously. "Your endurance, your resilience, it defies every alliance assumption about Class 15 species. We expected fragility. We expected surrender." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Fragility is a luxury we cannot afford. Weakness is punished instantly. Every decision, every movement, every breath, calculated to survive. We are not conquerors by choice. We are survivors by necessity." Sunmar's sensors detected subtle motion along the chamber edges, humans slipping in and out of shadows, observing, ready to intervene. "They're not rushing combat," he whispered. "They control engagement, test us, measure us. This is tactical genius." KRYX realized the truth then. The humans were not reacting blindly. They were controlling the encounter. Every movement, every sound, every breath was designed to gauge the intruders, to assert dominance without unnecessary risk. Rourke's voice cut through the tension. "You have strength, technology, numbers, but here, none of that matters. You fight against a species shaped by extremes. You are intruders in a crucible that was never meant to be friendly. We do not strike out of malice. We strike out of necessity." The air in the chamber seemed heavier now, charged with silent understanding. KRYX studied the human captain carefully, the calm authority, the awareness of every environmental variable, the quiet confidence that radiated like a shield. It was not arrogance, it was inevitability. One of Rourke's crew stepped forward, a human male, scarred and lean, carrying a heavy tool that doubled as a weapon. He moved without sound, placing himself at a strategic angle, ensuring the aliens had no flank advantage. Another emerged from the shadows, carrying medical supplies, tactical gear, and a reinforced shield. Every human presence reinforced a single undeniable fact. These were not ordinary beings. KRWX's team adjusted, sensing the balance of power shift. Technology alone could not dominate this environment. Physical superiority, environmental mastery, and psychological resilience had become weapons. Every sensor reading, every tactical data point, pointed to one conclusion. They were being outclassed not through alien tech but through human endurance, adaptability, and tactical ingenuity. Rourke's gaze returned to KRWX. You have choices. Retreat. Learn. Respect what you do not understand. Or press forward, and you'll discover why Class 15 is more than a warning. It is a crucible. And humanity thrives in crucibles. KRWX felt the weight of the statement. It was a declaration, calm but immovable. There was no boast, no threat of conquest, no arrogance. Only a clear, unwavering truth. These humans had survived horrors that would have destroyed countless alien civilizations. And now, they were ready for the intruders. Rel Vanto's mandibles clicked rapidly. They are perfect specimens of survival. Not monsters. Not anomalies. They are the culmination of everything the galaxy feared but refused to believe. Sanmar whispered, almost reverently, they are a species shaped to endure the impossible. And they are fully aware of it. KRWX raised his weapon slightly, not as a threat, but as a gesture of acknowledgement. He understood the magnitude of what he faced. This was no ordinary encounter. It was a confrontation with evolution perfected through extremity, discipline, and unyielding will. Rourke's eyes held his for a long moment, silent, unflinching. Then he stepped back, motioning subtly. Decide quickly. The corridors are ours. You tread on our ground. Adapt or depart. There is no middle path here. KRWX's chest tightened. He realized the truth of the warnings, the anomalies, the harsh lessons written into every hull plate, every corridor, every scar on the vessel. Humanity was not merely alive. It was honed, calibrated, and lethal in ways the galaxy had not accounted for. The boarding team took a collective breath, each member registering the weight of survival incarnate before them. KRWX knew the next moments would define the encounter, yet he also understood that these humans were not monsters, nor mindless savages. They were the standard the galaxy had yet to meet. Rourke's gaze lingered once more. Make your choice, Commander. Respect the crucible, or test it. Your survival is uncertain either way. Our patience, however, has limits. The chamber fell silent again. The hum of failing power, the subtle shifts of gravity, the faint vibrations through the hull, all waited, anticipating the next move. KRWX felt it in his bones. This was not just a confrontation. This was a lesson. And the galaxy had only begun to understand humanity. The first shot had yet to be fired. The alien boarding team retreated, moving through the corridors of the vessel with a mix of urgency and disbelief. KRWX Taller's steps were measured, but his mind raced. Every encounter, every calculation, had ended with the same conclusion. The humans were not only survivors, they were superior in adaptability, endurance, and strategic mastery. Technology alone had offered no advantage. Brute force was meaningless. Rel Vantos swiveled his mandibles in agitation. Commander, our sensors cannot reconcile their capabilities. We anticipated fragility, even surrender. Instead, we encountered this. He gestured vaguely at the human footprints etched in the bulkhead, the scorched patches, the meticulous repairs, the unseen traps that had guided their retreat. A species forged for survival. Perfected. Sanmar's display flickered as he tried to interpret the ship's environmental manipulations. They are using the vessel as an extension of themselves. Gravity modulation, lighting control, atmospheric shifts, every element amplifies their strength and restricts ours. We were never meant to win here. KRWX's hands tightened on his weapon, though he did not raise it. Then the choice is clear, he said softly. Withdraw. Document everything. And report honestly. The boarding craft detached from the vessel, moving slowly back into the void. Outside, the stars were calm and indifferent. Yet KRYX felt a lingering tremor, a recognition that the galaxy had shifted in that moment. Humanity had rewritten the rules. On the human vessel, Captain Rourke observed the departing aliens from the bridge. His crew, scarred, lean, and disciplined, worked quietly, tending to minor repairs and monitoring residual energy fluctuations. No celebration, no boastful cries, only focused, measured efficiency. They had survived contact with beings who believed themselves superior, and they had emerged unscathed. Rourke turned to his second-in-command, a wiry man named Larkin. "They'll report everything. We need to ensure the record is accurate. Humanity cannot be underestimated again. Not in this sector, not anywhere." Larkin nodded. "They've already felt it. They'll carry our reputation with them." Rourke's gaze drifted to the stars. The void beyond was vast, yet now it seemed to him less threatening. Humanity had endured Class-15 conditions, navigated survival beyond planetary bounds, and confronted superior technology without flinching. The universe could observe, but it could not intimidate. Far across the void, the alien fleet regrouped. Reports were filed, data analyzed, and the conclusions were uniform. The human species was unlike any known sapient life. Adaptive physiology, unparalleled endurance, tactical genius born from survival imperatives, all coupled with a calm, measured approach that made them formidable even when wounded and outnumbered. KRYX's report to the Council was precise, lacking embellishment. He detailed the vessel's construction, the environmental adaptations, and the human's physical and psychological capabilities. But he also noted the unquantifiable, the quiet dominance, the patience, the certainty that any misstep would be met with swift and calculated consequence. The Council convened in emergency session, their chambers vibrating with murmurs of disbelief. Scholars debated classifications, military leaders reconsidered strategies, and politicians murmured cautionary phrases. Humanity had been assumed manageable, predictable, and ultimately conquerable. Now they were a standard unto themselves, a species that reshaped the concept of survival, endurance, and tactical supremacy. Class-15 Deathworld no longer implies danger, it implies excellence, KRYX concluded, voice echoing in the silent chamber. If you encounter humans, you encounter a crucible in motion. Every trial they endure strengthens them. Every threat they face hones their capabilities. Outside the council chambers, the human vessel slipped through uncharted space, engines humming steadily. Captain Rourke monitored the retreating alien signals, ensuring no immediate pursuit. His crew moved with quiet efficiency, bodies honed by extremes, minds sharpened by adversity. They were not invincible, but they were prepared. Rourke addressed the bridge, calm but firm. Humanity will not seek unnecessary conflict. We do not hunt, we do not conquer for sport. But any who trespass into our crucible uninvited will encounter the consequences of underestimation. His crew acknowledged silently, the weight of experience and survival evident in every movement. They had lived through what no other species had survived, and they carried that knowledge with disciplined precision. The stars stretched before them, vast and indifferent, yet the galaxy had already taken note. Alien civilizations would speak in hushed tones of the encounter, redefining strategy, reconsidering expansion, and reevaluating every assumption made about this seemingly fragile, yet extraordinarily resilient, species. KRYX Taller, aboard his retreating craft, stared at the fading human vessel. He felt a mixture of awe and fear, not for himself, but for what this species represented. A force born of adversity, a standard of endurance, a testament to what life could achieve under pressure. In the emptiness of space, the human vessel became a symbol, not of aggression, not of domination, but of survival perfected. A quiet message radiated outward. Humanity was neither predictable nor conquerable. They were a species shaped by death worlds, by struggle, by necessity, and they would endure. As the human vessel disappeared into the darkness, Rourke's voice broke the silence of the bridge. The galaxy will learn. And when it does, let it know humanity is prepared for what comes next. The stars held their silence, yet the echo of humanity's resolve lingered, a quiet, undeniable testament to a species that had mastered the impossible and emerged unbroken. And somewhere in distant systems, alien fleets recalculated, strategies rewritten, and the notion of conquest quietly reconsidered. Humanity had endured. Humanity had prevailed. And humanity would never be underestimated again.